And that's where our family doctor gave me a Xanax, or gave me a script of Xanax.
Oh, yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah.
Anything that I ever did was not with the intention to hurt anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
It was always because of my addiction, or to make me feel better, which is the worst way you can be selfish.
Mm-hmm.
But it is what it is. Begging me where the pills are. Where are the pills? Where are the pills? And I sent them on a wild goose chase. And something in that moment, I looked at them and, like, they were exhausted. You're going to lose everybody you love.
Mm-hmm.
If I could bottle up the way that I feel,
Mm-hmm.
the peace that I feel, the serenity that I feel, and just the goodness I feel, and just give it away, like, I would.
Yeah. Welcome to the Tested and Twisted podcast. I'm your host, and today we have the lovely, I made it a tongue twister, Crystal Weatherly.
Very good. Very good. Nailed it.
So you are in recovery as well,
I am.
but not only are you in recovery, you took it a step further to work in the treatment and recovery space.
I did.
So how would you describe your job?
In a nutshell, I basically help people get into treatment. So what I do is I cultivate relationships with hospitals. I cultivate relationships with other business development reps at other treatment facilities locally. And then, just people on the outside, just people that, if you had a friend, I was like, hey, Crystal, I have somebody that may need to talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, we just talk about what's going on. I dig into a little bit about their past, what they're using, how long they're using, and where they want to go from there.
Okay.
And then, there's some criteria that needs to be met. And once the criteria is met, try to get them to one of my treatment facilities.
Okay. All right. And we'll dive into that more. I just kind of wanted to give people a little sneak peek into what they're going to be seeing here.
Yeah.
So you are, and if you can't tell, you have this, if you're listening, you can't tell, she is from the South. You got this beautiful Southern accent. I love it.
Thank you.
I'm jealous. I'm not going to lie.
Sound like cornbread.
So you were born in Texas.
I was.
And basically almost Louisiana, it sounds like.
Yeah, so in between Houston, Texas, and Lake Charles, Louisiana.
Okay.
So right where all the hurricanes hit.
Fun.
So I left one hurricane area and came to the other because I love chaos.
Yeah, I love a good hurricane.
I love a good rain shower.
Yeah, I love the chances of my house flying away.
Listen, I've had family members had to be rescued by helicopters.
Oh,
and
shit.
Yeah, it was wild. There's just wild stories.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Yeah.
I'm just getting, like, flashbacks right now. Just, like, driving around after Hurricane Ian and just destruction and,
Yeah. Thankfully, I wasn't here. I was on the other coast. I was on the East Coast when that happened. I mean, I was in Florida, but I didn't get hit by it, thankfully.
Well, I actually haven't even talked to anyone about that yet. Was there, like, bad storms and stuff over there during that or anything?
No, it was very weird knowing what was going on over here.
Huh.
And it wasn't even a glimmer in my mind yet to move to this coast. But I love this coast.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I ever came to Naples, I just went down Fifth. And I was like, ooh, this is where I need to be. Yeah, I want to be here.
Yeah.
So I've been manifesting and praying about getting to Naples. Don't have Naples money yet.
Yeah, most people don't.
No.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
But I landed in Fort Myers. But before then, like, I had love for this coast. But during the hurricane, I couldn't really identify other than being over here and visiting a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
So even though it's only 2 hours apart, it was really weird because we would have like a little bit of wind, a little bit of rain, but nothing like here.
I'm going to tell you, I think you're a little too fun for Naples. I think that you might get bored in Naples.
Probably.
You'd be like, man, I might need to go back to Fort Myers.
Probably. I do like Fort Myers, though. I really, really do. I moved here because, like, I wanted to be close to Naples, and my best friend is in Ave Maria right outside of Naples. But I couldn't find anything because everything was rented out because of the hurricane. So rent was super high. And I found a girl that was like getting out of her lease and wanted me to sublease. So I landed in Naples and I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm 10 minutes from the beach. I'm 10 minutes from downtown. I can get on 41. I can get on 75. I can get to Naples.
It's the best.
And the people are really, really good. At least the people I come across.
Yeah, it's kind of like a little melting pot here. I feel like, at least in this neighborhood specifically, people call it like the Wild West. Sometimes when I tell people I live in this neighborhood, they're like, what? It's a little
Like horses, Wild West?
Like no, like people just do whatever the hell they want, Wild West. You know, you might have 18 cars in a driveway at all times, type of Wild West.
Yeah.
Like it's a little, it's a little hood.
Well, I think Florida in general is just a hodgepodge, melting pot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Like whenever I first moved here, I was one of the only ones that was white.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I say that with no disrespect or any kind of weirdness. Like, where I'm from, everybody looks like me.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no culture, there's no diversity. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Florida's got everybody.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's a lot of reason that I stayed is because I've been able just to learn about people and cultures and different, like, what they do for fun or what they don't. It's great.
Yeah.
So, even though I get mad at the traffic,
yeah.
I'm like, everybody's coming here.
Right.
And then I'm like, you are everybody.
Right. And everyone drives like shit.
And
for the
everyone
most
drives
part.
like shit.
That's the worst driving I've ever seen.
Yeah, it told me it would take me like 18 minutes to get here.
Yeah.
It took me 32.
Yeah.
And I'm always early, so I was like, this is stressing me out.
You were on time. You were technically, in my world, you were early, just so you know.
Good.
You were early.
Good. I take pride in that because
yeah.
I was late for a long time.
So going back to childhood, what was childhood like for you?
I used to think that my childhood was great, and it was in many, many ways.
Mm-hmm.
One thing about me, I've always been incredibly loved. I've always had great family, great friends, great support system. It was a pretty normal childhood for the most part. My parents got married twice. They got divorced and then remarried. My daddy, so you'll hear me refer to my biological father as my daddy, and then my dad is my stepdad, but we don't put the step in there. He's been my dad for over 30 years. Both of these men have a huge role in my life, as well as my mother. But my daddy struggled with addiction and mental health. And so growing up, now knowing that is the reason to cause their divorces. And I remember, daddy drinking and being a certain way, but I don't have like any necessary trauma from childhood or anything like that. Just memories that things could have been a little bit better, a little bit different. I remember my dad going into a state facility after, I think it was their second split up. I don't remember. And that's all I knew about treatment is that one time when I was 12 years old, my daddy went into the state facility. We said the Lord's Prayer, and I got sick off salmon patties. That's it. That was my extent of knowledge about treatment or rehab. That's all I knew. So for years, when anybody would meet, which I hate the word rehab, it just grosses me out. But anytime somebody would mention rehab or treatment, all I could think about is like, I don't want to go to that place.
Yeah, those salmon patties.
Yeah, those salmon patties made me so sick. And we stood in a circle and said the Lord's Prayer. That's all I knew about it.
Yeah.
So they ended up getting divorced for the second time and stayed divorced. My mom met my stepdad shortly after, and he quickly came into our life. And my daddy was very, very lenient, very just the parent that's a friend, and we were super close. He had a lot of his own issues, and he got remarried another time, but it didn't stick. So he was always very close to, me and my brother. And then my mom and stepdad, my stepdad had more rules. He was the rule maker. He was a man of integrity, is a man of integrity, and things were just a little different living in his house. He was strict, but now looking back on it, like a lot of the good that I have in me is from him. Well, they're from all three.
Yeah.
My parents are beautiful people, and without them, I would be nothing. So I was very blessed in that way. And then later on, and it wasn't really my childhood, but early adult, my brother got sent to prison for something. He was accused for something that he didn't do, and ended up spending 10 years.
Wow.
And during that time, that was kind of, I had been using before then, but that's kind of really when it went haywire.
What age were you when that happened?
I want to say, I wasn't a child, so I think I jumped ahead some. I want to say maybe 25.
Okay, all right.
It's a very, very sad story, but my brother and sister-in-law, they're still married. They have a beautiful marriage. It's been hard. they stuck through it all, but they had faith, and it made them stronger. And he looks at it like this was his purpose in life, because now he just can help other people and share his story. So, yeah, it was a tough part.
Yeah. What was your relationship like with your brother? And is that your only brother?
So I have two brothers,
Okay.
but I have a stepbrother who I met when he was 6, and then I have my older brother who just turned 50. He would kill me if he's going to. Sorry, Christopher.
We'll bleep it out.
Yeah, beep, beep. He's 46. So 2 totally different people.
Yeah.
Both great. My brother was an older brother. So, like, I think about it now, and I'm like, you were mean to me. But we were close. But when my parents got divorced, my brother went to live with my daddy in Ohio. So there was a lot of years where we wouldn't see each other except for twice a year or whatever. And then with my younger brother, we grew up together, but he was very into sports and did all the things, and just a good, solid dude. He has 4 little girls now. And
That's
still
a
close.
lot of girls.
A lot of girls.
Damn.
I have a lot of family.
Yeah, that's
I
amazing.
have 9 godchildren.
Holy shit.
Yes.
Damn. That's amazing.
They see me coming. They're like, if something happens, you can raise my kids.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I love it. It's my best title. They call me Nanny.
Oh, that's so
it.
sweet.
Yeah.
That's so sweet. I come from a family of like mostly boys, pretty much. Yeah, it's just like a bunch of dudes. Yeah. What was your what were your hobbies or things growing up? Did you play sports? Did you do any of that?
I have 2 left feet. I run like Forrest Gump, but not the fast Forrest Gump. Like, absolutely not. They put me in softball. I was like 10, and I never got to play. I sat on the bench. I did not want to be there. Could care less about being there. I would they put me like in left field or whatever when they did play me, and I'd pick flowers. And I kid you not, I shouldn't share this, but it's hilarious. But finally, I get up to bat, hit the ball. Freaking ran to third base instead of first.
That's amazing.
I immediately quit. Like
yeah,
that.
You're like, I gotta go.
My softball career was over. Like everybody's
even...
in the stairs. I may have even been older than 10. I may have been old enough to know better.
She's so not tapped into the softball world that she didn't even know which way to run.
Yeah, I was like, this
is
great. I'll
right.
I'll take this one. I'll go left. And I continue to go left ever since.
That's hilarious.
So no, not a big softball girl. I just hung out. I didn't have too many. I tried dance. I'm just was never very coordinated.
Yeah.
Just never
That's
found.
All right.
I just never had something I held on to. I tried a lot of things. I really got into drinking. Love that. I was
on the varsity drinking team.
Yeah, I was. Oh my gosh, so bad. But yeah.
Do you feel like the divorce affected you in any specific type of way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think any child of divorce is going to be affected in a certain type of way. And a lot of it had to do is I was so close to my daddy, and he became such a loner after that. And like I know he was still in love with my mom, not in a weird way, but that was just his person.
He's just heartbroken.
And and I know that he wishes he could have done better and made it work. And looking back, and I used to get so frustrated with him because I'm like, why do you keep doing this? And he had a lot of things happen. He had a lot of things happen to him that just really broke him. And it saddened me as I was gotten older, because in a lot of ways I took a role reversal and became kind of took care of my daddy. And there were times where I'm like, I just wish he could have found that person and had that complete closure. But as I got older, we were a unit. So daddy was always with us. Matter of fact, my dad would take my daddy to chemo appointments. He was there with him every step of the way, because when my daddy died, my brother was in prison. So it was left to me. And so my mom and dad helped me do all of that. But yeah, to answer your question, I went around that. I think it definitely affected me.
Can you pinpoint what some of the issues were with you after that? Did it create, for me, when I went through a divorce specifically, it made me feel very untrustworthy of relationships. Can you pinpoint any of those issues?
Well, I can say I've never had a healthy relationship in my life, and I think that it
Had a lot
does
to do
play
with it.
into it if I break it down. Thank you, Chase.
Yeah.
Just pulling that out of me.
Sorry.
It's your fault, Mom and Dad. No, I think really going into a household where I had one way, and just completely spoiled, and then got somewhere where I had more distinct rules and responsibilities, and you're not going to do this, and I think that affected me. And then of course my daddy living out of state, and then I would go there back and forth, so I kind of missed those really, really years that were critical of my growing with him, because he lived away from like 10 to like 17, I think. So just having to go there for holidays, and I'd be resentful because then I'd have friends and I didn't want to go, or have to go to my dad's for the summer. So I think it affected me just on the switch and having trusting relationships.
Why did he move to Ohio?
A job.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All
he got a job over there.
I didn't know if it was like addiction.
No.
Like he needed to just like
No.
change places.
No, so he went, he was sober for a long time. So after I got sick on the salmon patties, he stayed sober
Really?
for like, 15 to 19 years.
Wow.
A long time.
That is amazing.
So he was good, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, he still had a lot of the mental health issues that he dealt with, but as far as any substance, he was good. And then, he fell back off later on down the line in my adulthood.
Tends to happen, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, all varsity drinking team. So, what sparked the drinking? Was it just casual at first?
I don't even remember the first time I drank. I just don't. I know it was probably 13 or 14. One of my earliest memories of drinking was Goldschlager.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that in a long time.
It makes me want to throw up in my mouth.
Yeah, Goldschlager.
Literally. I felt it
Wow.
was so
I'm
bad.
just going back and just playing the memories of Goldschlager in my head.
Yes, don't do it. Don't put that
They're
on
not-
loop. Don't
yeah,
put that
not
on
good
loop. Yeah,
memories.
now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, why did I say that? Should have said Seagrams. Like the wine cooler, but no. I don't know. It was early on, 13 or 14, maybe even 12. And I liked it. I liked it.
What did you like about it?
I liked the way that it made me feel.
Just removed all that
Just
pressure,
removed all the
anxiety.
pressure. It was fun. I guess I had some ick inside of me already starting to grow that it kind of made me not feel it. And then, throughout my teenage years, it just got worse and worse. Like, we partied. We, partied. And then, so I'm from a very, very small town, and there was a neighboring small town. So I was brought up in this one particular town, went to this school. Well, when my parents got married, my mom and stepdad, I had to move schools my sophomore year in high school.
That's tough in itself.
So my whole upbringing with all of my friends that I'd had at Port Neches, all of a sudden I had to go to the neighboring school, Nederland, which they are the biggest rivals. It's called Mid-County Madness. They're the biggest rivals in Texas. Matter of fact, just a quick plug to Port Neches, they won state this year.
Oh, no shit.
So yeah, them two. 5A, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
But you didn't cahoots with the Bulldog. You just didn't.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, but we got told on, my brother and I, because he was back in town now, back from Ohio, we got told on because we were using my grandparents' address. And so they're like, you have to go to Nederland. They let him graduate because he was graduating, but they made me start. And then that was a big shift too. That was a big shift. I was blessed because I immediately got picked up by the cool crowd.
That's nice.
So I didn't really struggle to make friends, which was a blessing. But I still had friends over in Port Neches and over in Nederland. And one of my earliest tragic things happened that first year I was at Nederland. And one of my very best friends from Port Neches, so we started school in August, September. And I was supposed to go back to Port Neches and go to this party, but I was hanging out with my new friends, right? And she ended up getting shot and killed at a Halloween party. Damn. And I wasn't there. So that was my first huge tragedy. Yeah. One of many.
That's not something you hear
15 years
often.
old.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were playing around with the gun. They were at a party and twisted it. was never any charges filed. Now the people that did it ended up going to prison later on for something else.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was like the first time I really, really experienced, other than like old aunts or, you know, passing away, that really started to affect me.
With the drinking at that age, did you see a problem right away?
No.
Were you different than your friends in any type of way? Was it like you blacking out all the time and they're not, or anything like that?
Not until more of like graduation and like that. I mean, we drank and partied in school, but I feel like we were all on the same playing field.
And it's like so new for everybody that like
Yeah.
everyone's just getting wasted.
Yeah, I don't know how to gauge it. Like we were all throwing up and seeing little leprechauns. Like I don't know. Like maybe I was a little worse off, but I can't really gauge that.
Right. So, what were your plans with college and after high school? What were you thinking?
So I wasn't. Like I didn't really have a plan.
Yeah, I feel that.
I just didn't. I hated school.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't my thing. I graduated by the grace of God.
Mm-hmm.
I changed my report card one year and got a new car out of it because I was told if I got these, I was a manipulator right off the bat.
Yeah.
And I'm not proud of that. I'm sorry, Dad. But I hated school, and like I'm really, really smart, and like if I would have just applied myself, you know. But then I think about it, and I'm like, so what if I would have had a college degree?
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And I've always loved people, so I immediately got into like a sales assistant job, and that kind of became my bread and butter. So I was like, once I knew I was good at sales, I was like, well, why would I go to college?
Yeah, that's where the money's at.
Yeah. So I did that forever.
Mm-hmm.
No college for me.
When did you said it was like that 25 when your brother went to prison? That was when shit kind of started to hit the fan with the addiction.
Yeah. So actually, it was a little before that. So whenever I moved to Nederland, I met a girl named Carrie, and her and I just became like the very best of friends. And, you know, when I say I got picked up by the cool club, I did. Carrie was the head cheerleader. She was just this beautiful girl, just long, curly hair. Just everybody wanted to be Carrie. And she was in my first period class that first day of school. And like I couldn't even, you know, you have to introduce yourself going by alphabetical order. I'm Weatherly, so I'm like at the very end. And she knew somebody from my other friend group at the other school. So when I said my name, she was like, oh, you're Crystal. Such and such told me you were moving over here. So she kind of immediately picked me up. Now, again, I wasn't in sports. I wasn't a dancer. I wasn't a cheerleader. Didn't care to do that. I just liked people. I just liked to hang out. So her and I just became the very best of friends. And she ended up, whenever we both turned 25, right after 9/11. So 9/11 happened, and then I was 24. So 9/11 happened, and then she got killed in a car accident on January 13th. And that was when it really became, whenever my partying became more than partying.
Was the car accident a like DUI type of situation, or was it?
So she was with an ex-boyfriend. They had left a wedding, and they were both drinking. And you know, he lost control, and she didn't make it. She left alone a daughter. She left behind a daughter, which I was in the room while she gave birth to her daughter, and like it rocked me. Losing my first best friend at 15, that rocked me, but losing Carrie was where I can pinpoint like this is where things got weird.
Yeah. What
And then you know, my brother's stuff kind of fell right behind after that. It just rolled on from then. It just one hit after the other.
I was trying to put myself in your shoes there for a second. I'm just like, damn, it's just losing people left and right.
Yeah.
It feels like in that situation, that's tough. That's very tough.
Yeah. And then especially with that, in that age, and, you know, she was just starting adulthood, and she was just starting her life, and her daughter, you know, her baby was 5, and she was living in Houston, and, you know, we weren't as close as we used to be, and there was a lot with it. There was a lot with it. And that's where our family doctor, gave me a Xanax, or gave me a script of Xanax.
Oh, yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah, the Xanax. I don't know what that is. It's just the magic pill.
That was it.
Yeah. What did life look like after after your brother going to prison, after Carrie dying? Were you were still, you strike me as a very functioning addict.
I was very functioning until I wasn't.
Which is that's a tough situation to be in when you're at because you're like, you can't look at anything and be like, oh, there's an issue here, because everything's still together in a way.
Well, I knew I had an issue.
Okay.
Like, I knew almost immediately after the Xanax thing. Like, when I had that first Xanax, that was it for me. Like, there was no going back. This was going to be mine.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew immediately, because the way that my body would feel when I wouldn't have them, or the way my body would feel when I did have them, or just the not feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I did everything in my power not to feel.
Mm-hmm.
I was hurting so bad. Like, I just,
Mm-hmm.
you take them when you don't want to feel.
Mm-hmm.
And then I continued to drink, and I ended up marrying somebody that I dated all through high school, or off and on through high school. He was older than me, and he didn't really like me when we were like dating in high school, but I was like in love with him. And then finally the tables turned.
Yeah,
And,
I knew you were gonna say that.
Yeah, and then and we're still very good friends.
Yeah.
But it just didn't work out. Like, I was just already so, I hate to use the word damaged, but I was already so sad.
Mm-hmm.
Because the depression was so bad, and we got pregnant, and that's the reason we ended up getting married. And I lost that baby right before. Let's see, Carrie passed away January 13th. I was actually pregnant, and then him and I planned to get married in March, and I lost that baby 2 weeks before the wedding.
Jeez.
We went ahead and went through with it.
Yeah.
Because we were getting married at Catholic church. I had this beautiful dress.
Mm-hmm.
We had kegs,
Mm-hmm.
like it was going to be a party.
So, well, the kegs are paid for, so.
Yeah, I mean, we got to do it. Like, all these people are coming.
Yeah.
Like, look how pretty I look.
Yeah.
Did you see this dress?
Yeah.
So we went through with it, and it just, we both drank. I had the pill addiction that I hid, or I thought I hid. I don't think I hid it very well. I mean, I was a hot mess.
Yeah.
But we both, and that marriage lasted maybe 4 years.
It's a decent run.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, and it taught me a lot.
Yeah.
And him and I, we went our separate ways, and there was a lot of animosity there, but we finally got into a point in our life that we're cool. And it taught me a lot. And then right after him, I met my second husband,
Mm-hmm.
and immediately fell in love. Just we were both in my cousin's wedding,
Mm-hmm.
and I was hot and single,
Mm-hmm.
and then he was hot and single, and so we're like, this is perfect, this is great. We were both hot messes and single. And so he's a musician, and we just started spending every moment of every day together, and I fell super hard. We dated for, I don't know, 2 or 3 years, and got married. We got pregnant several times. We lost the babies. And that's all I wanted to be, was a mom.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I've ever wanted to be, was a mom.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm good with kids.
Mm-hmm.
And so that created a huge, huge barrier. And, every time something would happen, I would just get sadder.
Yeah.
Sadder.
I couldn't imagine.
Sadder
It's
and
tough.
sadder. And, when you want something so bad and you can't have it, but everybody in your age group and all your friends are getting pregnant and having babies, and you're getting invited to baby showers, it breaks you.
Mm-hmm.
It breaks you on top of unresolved grief that you already have.
Mm-hmm.
You throw that in there and go through it multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
You start feeling like, why does my body fail me? Well, so if my body's going to do this, then this is what I'm going to in turn do to my body.
Mm-hmm.
Because, so it just became like, all right, if you're so damaged, I'll show you damage. And it just...
That's very interesting.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that is crazy.
Like, because I know this now with a lot of therapy.
Thank God for therapy.
Thank God for therapy. But, in a way, I was just mad at my body.
Mm-hmm. Did you figure out what the issue was?
So, a couple of the pregnancies, I had 5 total. I had 5 total miscarriages. Yeah. A couple of them were low progesterone.
Okay.
And then I would get like the progesterone supplements like during it, and it would help, but then it wouldn't last. And then 2 of them were missed, so it was too early to even tell. And the last one was a very viable pregnancy, and it just don't know. Still don't know.
I'm so sorry to hear that. It's just crazy.
You know, it took me a long time. It took me a really long time, and I can finally say I'm at a time where, like, I'm okay. That wasn't my plan. You know, I recently got my license to be a foster parent. I'm going to do it my own way. One way or the other, I'm going to be a mom. Like, it just, I'm have a calling for that. And not everything has to be traditional.
Yeah.
Not everything has to be done with a husband and wife and a white picket fence.
Yeah, I agree.
And so I'm at a point in my life where, you know, I'm just going to recreate my own story.
Yeah. It'd be a shame for you not to be a parent. You're going to be a cool ass mom.
Oh,
I'm
I'm a cool ass godmother. Like, my babies. It's really tough because all of my family's in Texas. So I came here to get sober 5 years ago, and I stayed here. I fell in love with myself. I fell in love with this place. And even though I have 56 first cousins.
That's just so crazy.
56
That's
first
insane.
cousins. So I say that just to like make you see how big of a circle I have at home. Like, it's huge. But here I am, like, doing my own thing. And I only have one god baby here. She just turned 2 in November. She's precious. I met her mom in treatment, and they're my family.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So I miss my other godchildren. I miss all my other babies. I have multiple nieces and nephews. But I feel like I'm a better aunt to them being here, you know, because I didn't remember anyway.
Were you running into any health issues besides obviously the miscarriages, but like because of addiction as a direct result of addiction, as a result of addiction, were you having any health issues or maybe other issues such as like crashing cars or anything, you know, legal problems or anything like that?
Yes and no. So I would also create a lot of health issues. So I was so scared to tell people that I was addicted and that I would be detoxing. And then now my mom and dad knew. They knew about 10 years into it. And they would try to detox me. But yeah, like I did like a 10-year run where I did Adderall, Vicodin, and Xanax all at the same time. So when I would run out, like all of my joints would swell up.
Oh, wow.
I couldn't walk.
Yeah.
Like I would have to like army crawl here just because whatever the cocktail of coming out of me, the poison, would affect my joints.
Wow.
And so I think there was one time, like I convinced my mom that I had bone cancer. Like,
damn.
Just,
damn.
I can't believe I just said that out loud.
Addiction's crazy,
like,
man.
it's so crazy.
Yeah.
And then, like with my ex-husband, my second ex-husband, like I was so sick. I was so sick. I was so sad. And I remember I went through like 2 years of just convincing him that I was just running fevers every day because I couldn't get out of bed. And it's easier to be physically sick. It's easier to tell people you're physically sick than that you're mentally sick and that you're struggling. It just is. And that's Chase. That's why I'm sharing my story, is because we don't have to be ashamed. You don't have to fake bone cancer.
Yeah.
You know?
I love that you did that. That's hilarious.
Not funny. It's
not
terrible. My poor mom. But
yeah.
like the lies we tell ourselves
I
or the
know.
things that we do so people don't think that we're an addict. Like,
the fact that you hid it for 10 years from your own parents is pretty impressive.
I don't know how well I hid it.
Yeah.
You know, they knew.
Yeah.
Because I would do the weirdest things.
Like what?
So I would get addicted to random things. So it would be like 1 week it would be scratch offs, right?
Oh, yeah.
I would sit there for hours, all Adderalled up, smoking cigarettes, scratching scratch offs forever. And then like the next week it would be like, I would only eat Dove chocolate.
Yes.
Or I would only have like 2 cherries in my Diet Coke. Like I would just get fixated on the weirdest stuff, or I would just like dig through my purse for hours
Mm-hmm.
or fix my like jewelry box. So there were signs.
Yeah,
They knew.
yeah,
They just
yeah.
didn't know.
Like she's been hanging out with that jewelry box an awful lot of time.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of it all, like the last 5 years, they would know because I
Mm-hmm.
would like be eating Dove chocolate or
Mm-hmm.
whatever the case, whatever weirdness I was stuck on that day. But yeah, they knew. They knew. They just, I think a lot of them, I think a lot of it, they chose to look the other way. But then when I would be open and honest, they would help me. And then, you know, I had good times.
Mm-hmm.
I had sober times, a month here, 2 months there, 3 months here. When I say sober, sober from pills.
Yeah.
I wanted to quit the pills as soon as I started taking them.
Mm-hmm.
I did not want that chokehold on me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted the way that they made me not feel, but I did not want to be in that prison anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't want to stop drinking
Mm-hmm.
ever. I mean, you know, my husband was a musician. We were in bars. We
Mm-hmm.
did this. We went to concerts. All of my friends drank. You know, I was in outside sales. One of the things is I smooched people at the bar. We went to all the happy hours.
Yep.
Except I couldn't leave the happy hour.
Yeah.
You know, I'd get there at 3 and close it down at 2 p.m. I mean, 2 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
just on a Tuesday. Yeah.
That chokehold of the pills is like, it's the worst. There's just
worst.
something about it. It's just like it feels so like just helpless when you're just the fact that you can't function without something. It sucks. And I'm on Suboxone right now, and I have that feeling with Suboxone where it's like I have to count my Suboxone, and I have to make sure that my Suboxone doesn't run out, and I have to make sure that I call and then what if the pharmacy doesn't have it? And blah blah blah
Yeah.
blah. It's
Or
just
what if
like,
it burns down?
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes I actually like lay in bed and I think like, what if the world does start to shut down? Like actually.
Yeah.
And it's like in the grand scheme of things, that wouldn't fucking matter, you know, because
Yeah.
the world's like shut
Yeah.
down, like shit's
Yeah.
actually hitting the fan. So it's like
Yeah, but I
bigger
need my
issues.
Suboxone.
But like I do think like, man, I'm gonna be a Suboxone. I'm not gonna be able to get Suboxone.
Yeah.
It's like that just sucks.
Yeah.
It's just a shitty feeling.
It does. Or, you know, or when you get flagged at the pharmacy.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
you know, or you have to go, like, get it on the street.
Yeah. Exactly.
And you're using all your money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't miss that whatsoever.
No. Did you run into, speaking of money, did you run into financial issues at all?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We got, with my first husband, we got a bunch of money from damage of a hurricane. I think it was Rita. We had like $80,000 damage worth our house. I
Damn.
blew through that.
Damn.
Blew through that.
Just all in just pills.
Yeah.
Man.
Nothing to show. Well, because you can't get them from the pharmacy because you can't get a refill. So you're going to pay $12,
Mm-hmm.
you know, a bar on the street.
Mm-hmm.
And just like the lengths that I would drive.
I
like
know.
to get
I know. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I've always, like, you meet these addicts, and I'm sure you meet these addicts now all the time, where you're like, man, if you put half of the effort into like creating a business as you do being an addict, you'd be a billionaire.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy.
We would go through anything.
Yeah.
Well, and I remember one time we were on a boat, and I was with a bunch of friends, and I had, like, always had a little something full of pills.
Mm-hmm.
Like a little pill case
Yeah.
or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And in my mind, it flew out of the boat.
Oh god.
But I think my friend, like, took it from me. Like, because I was a hot mess. I was there was points in my life I was disgusting to be around.
Mm.
Like my whole face would droop. I couldn't talk. I couldn't. Clearly, it was more than the Bud Light.
Yeah.
You know.
Been there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like looking back on it now, is I know that she was trying to help me,
Mm-hmm.
but I got so sick
Mm-hmm.
because, you know, that's what people don't understand. Like you just can't take somebody's pills.
Doesn't
like
work that way.
You know, like our bodies need it. Like in the next couple of days was hell. You know, and I know in her mind she was just trying to help me. But I was so fixated and I was so angry. Like, why would you, like, how can you not understand?
Mm-hmm. And people, if you don't understand, you just don't fucking understand.
You just don't understand.
And it is that simple, but, like, she could have killed you.
Yeah.
And that's what sucks, you know?
Yeah.
And it sucks that you're even in that position, but it's like, and that's why conversations like this are very important. Not so people can keep their pills, but so that they can kind of understand that it's deeper than just taking the pills away. Like, there's a lot more to it than just that.
There's a lot more to it. And, you know, that's why I will give everybody on the side of the road. I never keep cash, but I have glove compartment cash.
And I keep pills in the glove compartment.
No, I don't, because I cannot be trusted with them. No, but I always keep cash in my glove box. Because if somebody's out there and if he has a sign or she has a sign, like, who am I to say? Like, and people are like, well, what if they buy drugs or alcohol? Well, then they're not going to get sick and die.
Exactly.
Like, who am I, like,
Exactly.
to judge? Because people are struggling.
People are struggling.
Like, if I gave him $5 and he went and got a beer and now he can not have withdrawals tonight, and I know this sounds, there's such a fine line, because in the same sense, I help people get into treatment, I help people get sober, but at the same sense, like, there has to be a timeline. You know, there's a reason for detox.
Yeah, definitely.
There's a reason that you're supposed to detox in a medical facility. There's a reason that there's a timeline of how treatment works, is because you will get sick. And, you know, especially with alcohol and benzos, what I did, like, that was, you couldn't have a worse combo to be on.
Yeah, when you mentioned Xanax with alcohol, I'm just like, no, that's the worst one.
The worst one.
That's like those two combined together. Not only does it create just massive destruction in your life, but getting off it is just so hard.
So hard.
So hard.
And I would do it, you know, every couple months I would get off of it. I would detox. And I'd be like, I remember how I felt. Now I feel better. And then, you know, somebody be like, your prescription's ready to be filled. Or I'll be like, oh, great.
Oh, perfect. Sign me up.
Yeah, it was a wild ride.
What,
Do not miss it.
What, with your second husband, did that ended in divorce?
Yes.
And was it because of addiction, or did it just run its course, or?
So, we had lost the last baby. My daddy was dying of cancer. And let's see, we lost the baby September, October. Daddy died in March. And my ex-husband was taking care of both of us, running a business. I hadn't been myself in years. He had been through a lot with me. And he was tired, you know, and we just unfortunately didn't really try or have the strength. I was not the person he married. And it took me a long time, like, to get through that, because, you know, you marry for better or worse. I wish, in hindsight, 2020 or whatever they say, I wish I would have been open about my addiction. I wish that I would have come clean then, but I realized that there's time and everything, and that my story is exactly how it's supposed to be, and he was a chapter in my story, and, you know, I'm at peace with it now. It broke me. It was another thing, because it was just, I was already so broken, and I loved him so much that I wish things could have been different. They weren't. You know, I don't harbor any resentment anymore. It took me a long time not to. But yeah, it was tough. It was and that became kind of the beginning of the end, is after he filed for divorce in 2014. Daddy died in 2014. And then it just kind of started.
It seems like things happen in your life in clusters.
It's
like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah, leave me alone.
it's like you'll like say one thing, and then also it's just like four more things. I'm like, God damn.
Yeah, yeah, it's tough. It's tough,
Yeah,
you know. And
fuck.
I mean, I know everybody has a story, but it was tough. Like, it was a tough 20-year run.
Yeah.
It was tough.
It sounds like it.
But there was a lot of beauty in it too. You know, there was beautiful moments. We had great times. It wasn't all doom and gloom. It just wasn't. But as a whole, I just wasn't living right. Like, I was stuck in my addiction. I was stuck in my own prison. I hated myself. You know?
Yeah, I do know.
And the only time that I would, like, truly get sober is when I was pregnant. Then I was Mother Teresa. Like, this body is my temple.
Yeah.
I'm going to drink all the water. I'm going to do all the things. Like, so that just tells me how much I hated myself. You know, because if it had to do with anybody else.
Yes.
You know, then that, like, changed my mindset. I'm like, now it's not about you. So you treat this body like, you know, she's a goddess.
Yeah.
But whenever it was just me, I'm like, you're just a trash bucket. You know?
It's very interesting. Well, and with what you were going through with losing the babies, it makes so much sense because it's just that vicious cycle, you know.
Yeah. And it's so sad. And then, you get invited to a baby shower and you love the person that's having a baby shower, but you're like, I don't want to buy you booties.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to see the baby
torment.
dress.
Yeah, that's really sad. Very sad.
It's tough. And, I mean, that's another thing that's not talked about enough is fertility and the struggles and what women go through because it happens a lot. It happens to a lot of women.
Yeah, I have someone very close to me. I don't want to put their business out there, so I won't say exactly who, but someone very close to me that this just happened with, and it's not Emma.
Yeah.
But I watched just like how much pain it caused, and I've never seen that before, and it was just very eye-opening on how fragile life is, especially before there is like an actual baby coming out, before the birth. It's just like, man, there's so many things that need to go right, and you realize that, holy shit, just being able to live a life is such a blessing. Having a baby is such a blessing. That being just like the fact that we wake up every day is such a blessing. There's so many things that can go wrong so quickly, and it's just, we're very fragile, and you don't realize it, especially when you're doing drugs.
Yeah.
You're like, oh shit, I could have just died at any point, and I didn't.
How I didn't, I don't know.
Yeah. And that's why I believe in God.
Yeah. Oh, 1,000%.
And I didn't always believe in God, but there's been some things that made me realize, like, oh, okay, there's other things going on here that I obviously wasn't aware of.
Yeah. See, I've always been a Christian. I've always held on to my faith. And that's been a strong part of my story. Because I always had that faith. Like, I always knew he was there, I'd leave him, the prodigal daughter I am. But I always would, in the back of my mind, know that, like, my God's got me.
Yeah.
As tough as it was, because there was many times, Chase, where many nights or days, whenever I would sleep, I was like, I will be fine if I don't wake up. Like, they'll be better off without me. Like, I do not want to live another day. I cannot feel this way anymore.
It's a tough place to be.
It's so tough.
That, and there's a lot of people, obviously there's a lot of addicts in the world, there's a lot of people who just have very, just mental illness in general, where they feel that, and when you don't understand, like, when you've never felt that, it's hard to, like, wrap your head around, like, not just like, it's okay if I just don't wake up.
Yeah, and it's not that we're suicidal.
Yeah.
It's just that we're just so broken.
Yeah.
We're just so, like, maybe not even broken, we're so tired.
Tired is the word.
Exhausted.
Tired. I'm just so sick of it.
I'm so tired.
Just don't want
not
to
that
do
we're
it.
not happy, not that we don't have good things in our life, we're just so tired.
So eventually this all comes to a head where you are so tired that you are willing to make a change.
Yes.
What led up to that? Besides the 20 years of destruction?
Besides everything you just told me, besides the chaos you just lived in. So it's kind of like a month-long end. So my grand finale was pretty big. Because why wouldn't it be?
Yeah, of course.
So whenever...
Gotta go with a bang.
Yeah, so whenever my daddy was sick, we had moved him into my aunt's house, his sister. And my cousin was a nurse, and so he had better caretakers because, I had lost the baby, and then I was just a hot mess myself. Well, I started, like, taking my daddy's pills. Like, I mean,
Naturally.
He's on hospice, and I'm like, oh, look, they brought these for me. How nice.
Yeah. We're so sick.
Like, it's so
We're
sick.
so
And,
sick.
they'd have to lock the cabinet.
Yeah.
The hospice nurses would be like, don't let her come in.
Yeah.
I think my sister-in-law even, like, hit me at some point. Like, it was just terrible. And as much as I loved my daddy, like, I just was still so sick. And I was like, I need these to not feel what's happening of him passing away. So I took a bunch of his pills and would sleep on the floor in his room at my aunt's house. And after the funeral, my family, I was so close to, they locked me out. They gave up on me. They tough love. They didn't really, for whatever reasons, they had to get me out of their life because I was very, very, one thing about me, I've always been very, very close to my family. I've always done good, and I've always tried to not hurt other people. Like, it's always been self-inflicted. Anything that I ever did was not with the intention to hurt anybody else. It was always because of my addiction or to make me feel better, which is the worst way you can be selfish, but it is what it is. And so it took me almost 3 years to get back in good graces with my aunt and my cousins and my family. They finally let me go in and just hang it back out with them. And I was in a pretty good place. Then I took my aunt to Walmart one day, and I ran into my second ex-husband. Just I was walking out as he was walking in, and had no closure then. And it got me.
Damn.
It got me. So my aunt has a lot of medical problems, and I was helping her clean her house. All good intentions. I was in an okay place right now. Like, not great, but not like a total shit show. So I just took a bunch of her pills. Took a bunch of her friends. 3 years later, the same story, different dance, different one. And then I was living back with my parents again for like the fourth time in my adult life. And my niece was getting married. And my niece is my baby girl. She is the love of my life. This child and I, we've always been close. She was getting married. And I was asked not to come to the wedding. And then I ended up going, not by her. My mom had asked me not to go. Then the day it comes up to me, I was like, I'm going. So my mom picks out my clothes for me to go. I was 41 years old. My mom picks out my outfit to go. I hated the outfit. Mom, you did a terrible job on that.
God damn it, Mom.
That was so ugly. Had all those pills with me. Put a bottle of Fireball in my purse. And I like the minty stuff, right?
Yeah.
Goldschlager, Fireball.
Yeah.
Gonna make sure my breath smells good when I'm getting hammered. So weird. And then I went to the wedding and just black out. Just black out. Made just a complete. And this was my baby girl's wedding. Like, this was a huge deal to me. And don't remember it. All I remember is the pictures where I'm wearing that ugly outfit. And my face is all like drooping. And, my aunt was there that I'd taken her pills. And everybody was just so tired too. Like, not only was I tired, but nobody understands the effect it does to your loved ones. And so that was on a Saturday night. The next morning was Easter morning. This was in 2019. Again, I was living back with my parents. They came in the room I was in, and I was sleeping it off and begging me where the pills are. Where are the pills? Where are the pills? And I sent them on a wild goose chase. And something in that moment, I looked at them, and like, they were exhausted. And my mom was so broken. My dad was so broken. They loved me so, so much. And it just was that instant. Like, I knew forever that I needed help. I knew, but just something in that morning and that day, like, you're going to lose everybody you love. You're going to, like, you were breaking your parents. I've already lost my daddy. I already had regret. Don't cry. I already had regret, things, how he died and doing that. I never got to tell him that I was sorry. And I asked for help in that moment. And I don't really remember them jumping into action, because in my mind, whenever I asked for help, I thought I was going to the salmon patty place.
Yeah, you're like, fuck, these things, I don't want it.
But I'll go if this is what it takes.
Yeah.
But that's how little I knew, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing now, is because I want there to be a me. Like, I want me to have me, like old me to have me. Like, there are nice places you can go, and it doesn't have to be state run. And I think, what is it, like 3% of people can go to treatment or get treatment. But so they got on the phone. One of my cousins called my mom and was like, Aunt Sheila, she needs help. She needs help. So mom ended up Googling somewhere, and it just so happened the place I went started with an A. And it was like on the top of their Google search. Mom thought it was a divine intervention, and I'm like, it's just paid AdWords.
Yeah, you're like, she obviously doesn't understand how the internet works.
But it's fine. And so she called somebody in the intake department, and his name was Jason. He walked her through it. I had lost my job like a couple months before, so I was still like in a COBRA stage, so they could pay the premium. And then she comes in with her little iPad, She was like, hey, she was like, so you're not going to Beaumont? And I was like, dang, how am I going to see you every day? Like, how are you going to bring me clothes and treats? And she was like, here you're going. And she's like, you're going to Florida. She's like, we got to pack your bag. I needed a bathing suit and a towel and sunscreen. And I was like, hell yeah.
I'm going to Florida.
I need a vacation.
Yeah, that sounds great.
And I thought I was coming for 28 days, right? And then I'm going to be sober and healed and perfect and go back home and
Obviously.
I guess live back with them again. I don't know where I thought I was going from there. And then I guess that was on Sunday, and then Wednesday I was here over in Lake Worth and started the detox, which took like 10 days.
How was that?
Awful.
Yeah.
Awful, but they had such good snacks.
Yeah. Every time I go through detox, it's like I just eat so much sugar. Oh my God.
They had so many good snacks, and there was like an ice cream bar, and like I immediately wanted to be there. Like I was like, if I'm doing this, like I'm gonna do this. You know, there was never any part of me that I didn't want to do this. Like it's one thing about me. Once I make my mind up about something, I'm gonna do it. I had just never made up my mind. I didn't want to stop the drinking. That was it. All the other stuff I wanted to stop. And so did the detox, did everything that they suggested to me, would go to art class, made some great art, you know.
Hell yeah.
And met people that were like me.
Which is huge.
Which is huge because like nobody talked about it. Nobody talks about it. And I think we're getting better now. I don't know if we're getting better now or I'm just in a different place and I'm just around it, so I feel like we're better.
That's it. Yeah.
Because, and I've also been very loud and proud about it. But yeah, then I went to PHP, met my best friend that's here now, and like she's, you know, I heard a lot after losing Carrie.
Yeah.
And I've had best friends, and you know, I have wonderful friends in Texas, and I have one. But there was just something about Lindsay and I healing together and growing together, and she's my family. She married a wonderful man, and they have my goddaughter here. And but yeah, I took every suggestion that was given to me. I ended up staying in treatment for 7 months.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Damn.
Listen. I had a lot. I had a lot.
I could have probably stayed a couple more months too.
I had a lot to undo. So, fun fact: it takes longer to get sober than 28 days because what people don't realize is getting physically sober is the easy part.
Yeah.
It's, you know, curing that grief and healing that grief that I just shoved down for so many years.
All that shame,
cleaning it all up. And I did work an AA program. I think that was very, very beneficial in my early recovery. I worked the steps. I went to my 90 and 90s. I did my amends. I did all of the things. And again, it was great for me in my early recovery. In my opinion, this is just my opinion, I feel like everybody should work the steps. I feel like it gets rid of a lot of junk that we're hanging on to.
It's like a structure
Yeah.
that a lot of addicts lack structure.
Yeah.
And getting that out of rehab is important.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, and you mentioned structure. So I had been in outside sales my whole career, again, with the happy hours and all of that. And that just let me go just wild, you know, because I could make my own schedule, do whatever. I would do just enough.
Yeah.
Just enough to skirt by until I would get fired. You know, just enough until something would happen. So whenever I decided to stay here, which I decided pretty early on, I think I was in IOP whenever I called my dad because I knew my mom was going to be heartbroken. And my mom was at home going through her own like recovery, right? So I think she stayed holed up in her house for like 3 weeks when I became gone because she was so used to taking care of me. You know, she was so used to not being able to go do normal things because, you know, Crystal may need me, or, you know, I can't go because what if something happens to Crystal, or what if she does this or that or whatever. So there was an adjustment period for them as well, which also people don't think about.
People never think about that.
Like what happens to the moms and dads or the brothers and sisters whenever your loved one's gone in treatment. And so I don't remember where I was going with that.
You decided to stay here.
Oh, yeah. So I remember telling my dad, I was like, hey, so, you know, there's IOP after this, which is outpatient. I was like, I think I want to stay. He was like, whatever you want to do. And I was like, well, don't tell mom yet. Like, don't tell mom yet. And then I just kept putting it longer. And then I went into sober living. And then after 6 months, they came here and watched me get my first chip and brought me my dog.
Mm.
And I'm like, I'm going to stay here a little bit longer, you know? And it's been almost 5 years in April. And I'm still here getting sober.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think at some point in life I'll go back to Texas. I'm just happy here. I'm happy. Every day I'm growing. Now that I get to help people, like I'm right where I need to be. Yeah.
So that's a crazy story in itself. Like, I think a lot of people have that feeling when they go to rehab and they get clean because I know I felt this way when I went to rehab. Well, not the first few times I went to rehab, but eventually I was like looking at the people who were running the rehab or were a part of the rehab, and I was like, I really want to do that. But then you get out of rehab and then life happens and you never actually get that opportunity, right?
Yeah.
You got the opportunity, and
yeah.
that is amazing.
Yeah, but again, I give glory to God. I think
Mm-hmm.
that it's just I think everything in my life has built up to where I am right now. I finally feel like I'm living the
Mm-hmm.
life I'm supposed to be, even if it doesn't look like what it's supposed to look like, or
Mm-hmm.
even though it doesn't look like other people on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
I'm living the life right now that I have fought really hard for.
Mm-hmm.
But I did. I had to go into retail. I went into retail for almost 4 years. And that gave me back that structure. I had to punch a clock. I had to, do inventory. I had to do all the things. And then I quickly became a store manager, and I managed teams. And this really built back up me professionally. And then I knew from day one, because like you just said, the people that were helping me, I was like, I want to help other people. Like, I want to be her.
Mm-hmm.
I want 30 days sober,
Mm-hmm.
right? I want 3 months sober.
Mm-hmm.
I want 5 years. Like, I want what they have. And it was always in the back of my mind. So whenever I saw American Addiction Centers was hiring, I wrote the most beautiful letter, not like a job letter, just
Mm-hmm.
the most beautiful letter of why I would be good at this job. And a few months later, I was given the opportunity. And so one thing that I'll never do is live in shame anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I get to tell my story every day with people that I'm helping get in, and I couldn't be in a better place. We had so much in shame
Mm-hmm.
in our addiction. And another thing that I told myself, not only will I help people like that I don't know, I'm going to help people that I do know.
Mm-hmm.
So on my socials, you're going to see my story. On my, because I'm not ashamed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I did that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've been ashamed for too long. Like, this is what it is. It affects everybody. It affects every family. It has no prejudice.
No, not at
it
all.
doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter what your daddy does.
Nope.
It doesn't matter what color you are.
Mm-mm.
Addiction attacks every family in one way or the other.
Definitely.
And there's such a stigma behind it. I'm going to go to my grave fighting for it,
Mm-hmm.
to try to stop the stigma.
Mm-hmm.
It's not necessary.
Right.
In this mindset of our medical professionals and things that some of them feel like, well, treatment is just a suggestion.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, are you going to suggest chemo to your cancer patients?
So crazy.
Are you going to suggest dialysis to
Yeah.
your diabetes patient? Like,
Crazy.
when are we going to get a little more like proactive and know that this is serious, especially with the realm of drugs that we have right now, this
Mm-hmm.
fentanyl, this xylazine, everything that's attacking us right now. People can't casually just do cocaine anymore.
No.
Like, when I was growing up, like, hey, we got an 8-ball, like, let's party.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and I tell my younger nieces and nephews in this, like, you can't go to a party and try cocaine.
You will die.
You will die.
Mm-hmm.
It's not if you will die, it's when you will die.
Yeah. So
At
scary.
some point, something is going to have fentanyl in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, like, how can people not hear that? Like, what is it going to take for people to hear that?
Everyone thinks it's not going to be them.
No.
And it's going to be you.
It's going to be you.
You're going to die.
It's going to be you. And they're going to be like, oh, he was such a nice kid. And of course he is a nice kid.
Mm-hmm.
Of course I was a nice kid.
Mm-hmm.
Of course you're a nice kid.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't, addicts aren't bad people.
No.
We're just broken, and it's just a disease. And, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to share my story. I want to continue to keep sharing my story.
This
Nobody's
is so
going to
cool.
shut me up.
This is so cool.
You're so cool.
This is amazing.
Well, thank you.
I feel like this is like we were talking about before, I was so excited for this podcast. I just feel like just from the first conversation we had, like I could just like feel something about your enthusiasm and just like how you are. And it's cool to see that someone's happy. I love happy people, you know, and like you came from such a place where you weren't happy for so long necessarily in certain ways. I'm sure you were happy in other ways, but to see that you fought through it and you figured it out and you are where you are and you're doing what you're doing, which is just like amazing. Like,
I love it.
It's amazing. I
love it. And I am happy. You know, I'm not going to lie. I mean, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Like there's things like living here is expensive.
Yeah, it is. It just keeps getting more expensive.
And then more expensive. And then remember I was telling you earlier, they sent me a $35 tax on my dog. And I'm like,
her 17-year-old dog, by the way.
17. He's 17. Yeah.
Crazy.
He has old man smelly ears. He's so cute. He's so cute. That, you know, my daddy left me that dog, and like it's my pride and joy. 17.
It's amazing.
Still going.
I think that is.
I should have brought him.
I wish you would have.
Next time.
Yeah, next time. We'll have you back on for sure.
Yeah. But no, I mean, it's not all rainbows and butterflies, you know? Like, it's not. But, God, it's good. I say all the time, if I could bottle up the way that I feel, the peace that I feel, the serenity that I feel, and just the goodness I feel, and just give it away, like I would.
Yeah.
You know, and
it's nothing like it.
I can't. So the only thing that I can do is to continue to share my story and continue to help people. And, you know, one of the biggest things when people call me and want to get into treatment is I'm really trying to be a pillar of the community and get connected with all different outreach types and not just American Addiction Centers, but if somebody makes that call, you know, it's the hardest thing to do to admit you need help or make that call. I want them to get me on the other line. And even if I can't take them, be like, you know, you're not going to meet criteria for my facility, but let's find you a place. And that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I'm going to continue to connect and meet all the people here. And I probably won't be mayor, though. They probably I don't really like politics.
I mean, we could use a mayor like you, though. That'd be amazing. She said, I don't think they'll let me be mayor, though. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I really needed this.
I'm so glad.
I really, really needed this. I don't want to cry again, Buck.
Don't cry.
You
can cry, though. Real men cry.
I just really needed this conversation. I feel like this was meant to happen. So
everything's meant to happen exactly.
Happy that you came here today.
Well, thank you for coming on.
Thank you. You know the deal. Like, subscribe, comment, share, so we can hopefully get more people sober. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Much appreciated.
Bye.
Damn. You did such a good job.